Tonight we're going to kind of move into the second phase of our series on codependency. In the first 5 weeks, we concentrated on what codependency is. We talked about the traits, the characteristics of a codependent. We also went through different behavior characteristics of a codependent. As I mentioned before, and I define codependency, I define it in a very simple way. I define codependency as any person, place, or thing that I have become dependent on, that makes my life unmanageable or makes my life crazy. That could be a substance, that could be a person, that could be a job, that could be a lot of different things. The key is dependability and unmanageability. We also went through the aspect of family systems and how so many of us learn traits and characteristics from our different family systems. We also talked a lot about the concept of how adult children and codependents don't know how to play and have fun. Talked about relationships. And we also talked about the roles that codependents play. Now tonight, what I want to do is an overview of the recovery process from codependency. And we're going to spend tonight and the next 3 weeks taking you through that recovery process and how that recovery process works. So I'll kind of show you that process and take you through it. When we talk about the recovery process, there are 6 stages of recovery from codependency. I have to mention this. There are 6 stages. And inner child, by the way, is number 6, not number 1. I say that for a purpose. We get so many people come in here and they say to me they want to do inner child work. They want to meet their inner child. They want to be able to talk to their inner child. All these things they come in here for. And I tell them that before you can actually do this, you have to be able to take a look at the foundations and the basics to be able to deal with that little child and be able to heal it and move on with it. So we have what we call the 6 stages. Tonight I'm going to concentrate primarily on the first 2 stages, and then we'll spend the other three weeks on the other stages. The 6 stages are as follows. The first stage is education, learning. The second stage is building and developing a strong, healthy support system, or what I refer to as a recovery family. The third stage is a process called self-parenting, learning how to identify my needs and learning how to get my needs met. The fourth stage is called affirmations, learning how to affirm myself, look at myself positively, and how to be able to look at all the things I do in my recovery process from a positive perspective. See, our philosophy is we do not want anyone to do inner child work or family of origin work unless they do it with a positive attitude. Because everything we do is about healing. It's not about blaming. Because too many times we spend a good portion of our life going around blaming everything and blaming everybody. The purpose is to be able to look at things, work them things, and grow. The 5th stage is called family of origin work. Going back and doing an inventory of our childhood history and being able to identify the key areas to work on and to heal. And the final stage is called inner child work. In that final stage, we learn how to be able to meet the child within, and we learn how to heal that child and be able to build a relationship with it that will help us in our personal growth process. Be able to balance between ourselves the concept of adult and child. Now tonight I want to concentrate primarily on the first 2. I'm going to talk about education and talk about building and developing a strong, healthy recovery family. Now watch. Most adult children and most codependents, and even many addicts, we have a tendency very many times to have gone through some major traumas in our life. So many of us have learned over the years how to shut down our feelings, how to put walls up, how to avoid, and how to hide. Now, as a result of that, so many of us are guarded, which is normal. It's almost like we kind of have these rules. I don't ever want to be hurt again. I'm tired. No one's ever going to hurt me. So therefore, I am going to literally protect myself at all costs. Now, we know that when codependents and adult children come into treatment or come into rooms such as this, and so our first stage is called education. I defined adult children of alcoholics and codependents as frozen Kelvinator freezers. Pretty and beautiful on the outside, frozen solid on the inside. I also describe us as people who are frozen from our nose to our toes, which means the only part of us that isn't frozen is what I call the control tower. It's called our head. And so many of us, so many times, have a tendency to want to organize everything, figure everything out, analyze everything, and basically find the answers to everything. As codependents, we're good at that. We literally say over and over again, give me the right books to read, give me the information, and I'll get everything straightened out by midnight. We don't have a lot of patience, what can I tell you? We keep looking for information. And so many of us are extremely good at what I call intellectual recovery. And by the way, for most codependents and adult children, that's normal in the beginning because it's a safe place to go. I don't know about you, but I do know about me. And I know that so many times because of my fear, my anxiety, the hurt and the pain, I literally want to be in control. I want to be in charge. I'm not used to not being in charge. So as a result, education-wise and intellectual, I can be in charge. So what do we tell people? In the early stages of recovery, we tell you go to lectures, read self-help books, get information, go to workshops. Why? Because all these things are safe. Nobody's going to call on you. Nobody's going to make you talk about yourself. You can literally listen, learn, read, and discover. And it's literally learning about things on a very safe level. Because on that level, I can basically, literally stay protected and stay safe. It's a powerful process. So as a result, what do? I literally have to be able to do this because it may be the only thing I can actually do, and that may take time. I've said this over and over again. Everyone works in God's time, not in our time. And therefore, the recovery process works in exactly the same way. There are some people that the only part of recovery they can do is the intellectual part. And that's okay. So I tell people, do whatever you have to do whatever feels safe, and only when you're ready. And by the way, I got to tell you this. Nobody can make you ready. You'll be ready when you're ready. And only you will know when you're ready. See, we don't move into that second stage of recovery until we are ready to move into that process. Why? Because it's scary. It's so much easier just to be able to be on my own, to be able to do things in my head, to be able to have control, and to literally stay in what I call that intellectual phase. And I do understand it. Because in that phase of my recovery, I am basically, I don't have to expose myself. I don't have to take any chances or take any risks. I can just learn things. And what I love so much about all of us as codependents, when you first start reading all this stuff and listening to it, they always say to me, you know, he's talking about my sister. Oh, he's talking about my mother. Or he's talking about my family. Eventually we get around to saying, he's talking about me. That's usually the last part on the totem pole. But that's okay. Everything takes time. We have to learn to be patient. I remember working with a particular lady one time. She said this to me, which I really got a kick out of, but I understand. I mean, she said, I've been coming to your lectures for 3.5 years. and I think I'm now ready for step 2, for the second stage of recovery. I said, thank you. You know what? That's okay. That's where she's at. That's where she's comfortable. And I know one thing. Being a recovering codependent and adult child, I know one thing. We can only work at the pace we are ready to work. And nobody can make us or push us. So I'll tell you a secret. As soon as somebody tries to push us or make us, guess what? The wall goes right back up. I get frozen all over again. You must give all of ourselves time to thaw out. So learn as much as you can. Also, know something else, what I love so much about adult children and codependents. Don't take any one person as an expert on it. Go around, get information from different places. It's important. The more you learn, the more you'll grow. Check it out. Find things out. We have a tendency, I always get a kick out of adult children and codependents because I get a kick out of myself, what can I tell you? But the concept is very simple. They come to me and say, now, are you sure that therapist will be able to work with me? Codependents are the only people, when they interview a therapist, they want to know where you were born, how old you are, what your experience is, what color underwear you wear, where you go, what schools you went to, how many people in your family, what are you doing, and after a while they make you nuts. They check out everything and everybody, and I'll tell you a secret. Good, do it. You know why? If I've been hurt enough, I went through enough changes, I'm not going to trust myself just to anybody. It's okay to check things out. It's okay to protect yourself and take care of yourself. That's what it's really all about. It's all part of the process that we go through. Also, one of the things that codependents do, and it's kind of I smile about this. So many of us have a tendency. I have never met a bunch of people like us who literally train our own therapists. How many times people have come up to me and said, can you tell me what books, what workbooks, what things I can buy to bring to my therapist so she can learn about codependency so she can then work with me? I look at her. You're going to train your own therapist? Why don't you just go to a therapist who understands codependency? Oh, I can't leave her. I've been with her for 27 years. You don't want me to abandon her, do you? We have this insane loyalty. It's almost like we feel guilty if we make changes. Because change sometimes for codependents and adult children is a scary word. And that's why we have to learn from different areas and different directions. When you are ready, and only when you are ready, are you ready to move into what I call the second stage of recovery. That second stage is building and developing a strong, healthy support system, a strong, healthy recovery family. Now remember a basic principle. All growth in life takes place in a family system where we're all normal human beings, at least I hope so. And one of the things we all strive for is for a place to belong, a place to be accepted. We strive for a place where we can feel safe and feel comfortable. We strive to be able to be around people that can help us in our growth process. One of the mistakes that many of us make is very many times we expect our family, our blood family systems to be that for us. And many times they can't be. You know why? Because many times they don't understand what you're talking about. It's real simple. And many of us get mad. I want you to work with me on this. And they say, work on what? We get very crazy sometimes. Because I've seen people do this so many times. I'm not going to feel better. I'm not going to get better until my mother tells me she's sorry. Until my father tells me he apologizes. Or until they sit down and talk to me about all this. Let me tell you a secret. They look at you like you're nuts. What are you talking about? We didn't do anything. It's all part of the process. See, it's not about them. It's about what's going on inside of us. Because everything in life is based on perception. Remember, I told you this so many times. I can take 8 brothers and sisters from the same family, put them in 8 separate rooms, do an interview with each one, and come out with 8 different families. Every child perceives the family differently. And it's all based on where they're coming from. It's all about perception. People can look at someone as being abusive, when in reality they may not be abusive. But in the perception of that person, it's real. It's affecting them. It's affecting what's going on. And that's why it's not about anyone else. It's about learning about ourselves and growing within. Adult children and codependents also have what I call the 2 faces. We have what I call our external face and our internal face. So many of us, because of our survival techniques, are for years and years been able to function extremely well externally. But internally, we're a mess. And again, I can relate to that in the years I was in the priesthood. I functioned extremely well in running around, fixing the world, and saving the world. Internally, I was a total disaster. And I ran around and fixed the world and saved the world because it kept me busy, and it helped me to avoid the inside of me. You know how many adult children run companies, function extremely well, do all kinds of things. When it comes to their own personal life, we don't know what to do. We have no sense of who we really are. We have a sense of what we do. That's why I say there are 2 sides to us, the external and the internal. So what do we tell you? Try to develop and hook up with some sort of a support group. We tell codependents that there are groups called Codependency Anonymous. We have actually 3 of those meetings here. On Thursday night, we have the men's CODA meeting and the women's CODA meeting. On Friday night, we have the mixed CODA meeting. These are support groups that will help you to begin to listen to other people and learn how to interact with each other. But I'll tell you what happens when you first go to these meetings. Remember a lady one time, I sent her to a CODA meeting. She came back and said, "Why'd you send me there? Those people are very dysfunctional." And I said, "Why do you think I sent you there?" "Because you belong." But see, normally when we first go to them, what do? We sit in the back, we look around and say, "I'm not like that one. Look how crazy that one is. The other one's half nuts. Why am I here? What's that one all about?" We are very good at taking everybody else's inventory, not a problem. When it comes to our own personal self, we're not going to get around that right away. That's why we use the same principle that Al-Anon teaches. We tell you, go to at least 6 meetings to get a feel for what's going on. Even if you don't say anything, that's okay. Just go, be there, be present, be around, and be able to be present to people and listen. Also, at most of these 12-step meetings, they have a very interesting rule. The rule is called no crosstalk. Why do we do that? People have said to me over and over again, "I went there, they didn't give me any advice, they didn't tell me what to do." It's not about that. See, the recovery process works in a very powerful way. Just by being around people and listening to them sharing, You can pick something up from every person in the room. You see a little bit of yourself in every other individual. You also find out that you're not alone. That's why it's not about giving advice. It's about being able to talk about what's going on inside of me. It's about being able to share. And we learn from sharing from each other. I told you this before. I've said this so many times, and it's one of the reasons why I believe so strongly in 12-step support groups and in support groups in general. I've said that the greatest human library there is on the face of the earth is what I call the human library. Every one of us in this room has a story. Each one of us is a book in process of being written. And every day that you wake up, a new chapter goes into the book. And that book will be written until you leave this earth. It is the story of your life. Each one of us, basically, and you know as well as I, if they really wanted to have some fun, we could all be sitcoms on TV. It would be interesting, wouldn't it? But the crazy part about it is, your story and my story is the greatest story on the face of the earth. Why? Because it belongs to us. It's ours. Secondly, when we come together and we share from our own story, and we share from our own experience, our own strength, we literally are moving into sharing from the libraries of everybody else. That's why I call it the greatest human library around. And I can learn something from everybody's book. I can learn something from every individual person. Because each and every individual in that room is a teacher. And I pray that I may be open to continue learning and continue growing. What I find so beautiful about it is we also find out that we are no longer alone. We also learn it's a place where I can share, I can talk, I can open myself up, I can begin to grow, and I can begin very quietly and very gently to learn things about myself. But above all, I need a support system. And doing a lot of our inner child work and our codependency work, we need to be able to do it in a group process even more so than an individual process. And the reason behind that is, in a group setting, we experience something called bonding. We connect with people. And all of a sudden, we have people who speak the same language, who know where we're coming from, and people we can interact with and talk with. See, realize something which is so important. Just because we are ready to begin to grow, to begin to learn things about ourselves, doesn't mean everybody else is. And that's why we have to be very careful about what I call expectations. I'll give you an example. I look at my own family, and I love my family. Are they dysfunctional? Of course they are. All of us, in one way or another, have forms of dysfunctionality, because we're all human. But I have to realize something. It's not for me to go to them and say, I want you to be my support system. Because many times, it's not even fair for me to expect them to. Once I'm able to build a support system with people, I begin to bond. I get connected. People I can share things with, I can talk to. But the biggest issues of developing a strong, healthy support system is to be around people I feel safe with, be around people that love me unconditionally, be around people I can identify with, be around people I can open up, I can socialize, I can play, I can share, but be able to be around people I'm beginning to experience an identity of who I am as a person. So we tell people to work together with others. Thomas Merton said this a long time ago. Thomas Merton said, no person is an island. No one can grow or function alone and by themselves. All of us, every one of us, we need one another. We need to be around people. We need support. I don't know about you. I know about me. I don't want to walk through life alone and by myself. It's a very lonely journey. Believe me, I did it for a lot of years. It's so much more fun to be around people that we can identify with and we can share with. Had a beautiful weekend this past weekend. I went to a Matt Talbot retreat, an AA retreat, and literally 108 men. And we had a great time sharing together, being together, celebrating together, just being able to interact. It was like a gigantic family weekend. It was unbelievable. And that's what recovery is really all about. Because it's around people that you feel comfortable, you feel safe with. And think about this for a moment. Think about your little child. What are we all searching for in life? I said this way back in the beginning. I'm searching so I can be connected and be bonded and connected to people that I feel safe and comfortable with. Remember, I told you this so many times. You can't have the energy of love present unless you have the energy of safety present first. Only when you feel safe and comfortable around individuals and people can you then begin to build up a trust level. And trust levels for us don't come easy. Now, just because you begin this process and begin to work on it doesn't mean that right away you're going to start trusting people and they're going to start trusting you. No. Everything that's worthwhile in life takes time. My father said it so beautifully. He used to say, pazienza, which means in Italian, patience. He used to say, take your time, slow down, go slow. It works better. Think about it for a minute. Look how many years so many of us have invested in our dysfunctionality. And now, basically in recovery, shouldn't we at least give it the same amount of years? It's okay. One day at a time, slowly, gradually. Good recovery is a slow, 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 slow process. Got the drift? Slow. The slower, the better. My father used to tell me, an old farmer, he used to say, when you're raising crops, you pray for the slow, steady, consistent rain. The downpour floods and destroys the crop. Does no good. It's that steady, steady, steady process. Recovery works the exact same way. Even to get connected and bonded with people in recovery, it's a slow process. I got to get to meet people. We have to learn how to interact with each other. We have to learn how to build a trust level up. That's why it's a process we have to go through. I almost wish sometimes for codependents and adult children, we could do the same thing we do for drug addicts and alcoholics. We tell them in early recovery, go to 90 meetings in 90 days. We should tell codependents, go to 300 meetings in 90 days. Morning, noon, and night. By the way, I am exaggerating. I got to be careful what I say, because many codependents will go out here and say, where are these meetings? So I can go to them. We share with you the importance of allowing this process to kind of grow on you, get connected to it. I know that today, I feel so good about and so comfortable with, I have people on my journey in life that I can share things with. I have people I trust, I feel comfortable with. I have people on my journey I can interact with. I have places I can feel safe and feel comfortable. I have places where I take the time to begin to experience and develop a sense of my personal identity. That's why it's such a beautiful process. And yet, it takes time for us to get into it because remember, so many of us have put shields up this high And to bring that shield down, it takes some time. Because the bottom line is, I don't want to get hurt. But I realize something. Hurt is part of the journey. There will be occasions when you will get hurt. Recovery is taking risks. Recovery is being able to open yourself up. Recovery is taking time, slowly and gradually, to begin to interact and connect. Will it work 120% of the time? No. If it works 70 or 80%, wonderful. But it comes down to how much we want to put into it. What I've learned over and over again is that when you truly are able to build and discover and put together a strong, healthy support system, you never have to walk alone again. Now, will some of those people disappoint you? Yeah. You know why? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't do what many codependents do. I found the perfect person, and now I'm going to hang around them 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. I'm going to burn them out. Recovery means building a support system of many people. Because if one person you can't connect with, you got somebody else. And it's from the different people, the different aspects, the different areas that we learn things and grow things from. That's what's important. That's all part of our process we go through. So try to be open to that. See, I don't know about you, but I know for me, learning how to become more open to share things takes a long period of time. Because basically, when you don't trust, it takes time to learn how to trust. And so in these first two stages, what am I doing? I'm learning about myself. I'm learning about codependency. I'm learning what it means to be an adult child of an alcoholic. I mean, there's a book that came out in the late 70s called Adult Children of Alcoholics by Janet Wowitz. I'll tell you, that book blew my mind. I wondered if she lived in my house. And yet I realize more and more now that all of us have those same traits, those same characteristics. And it's not about disowning your family. It's not about blaming them. It's about me being able to look within me and heal the inside of me, not the outside of me. If I can heal the inside, the rest will take care of itself. In these support groups, you'll be introduced to something called the 12 steps and the 12 traditions. And for each support group, those steps and traditions are basic. They're the foundation of our spiritual growth. But only by coming around these programs we'll be able to experience them, be able to grow from them. Once we're able to build that support system, then we are ready for the third stage of recovery. In the third stage, we do something called self-parenting. Now, I want to give you a nice little assignment to do. And in doing so, maybe you'll understand what I'm talking about. That comes in time. What I want you to do is how we do our self-parenting technique. What I'd like you to do sometime over the course of the week, if you want to do it. If you don't get it done, please come back anyway, please. Okay? I won't check on you, I promise. I would like you to sit down and I would like you to write a composition entitled My Fantasy Family. I would like you to make believe you are a little baby getting ready to be born. And I would like you to create on paper what I refer to as a perfect fantasy family. You're not being disloyal to your family. It's not about them. I want you to use your imagination and your creativity. This is the first stage of getting in touch with the little child within. Give that little girl, that little boy inside of you permission to create the perfect mother, the perfect father, and to create, if you want to, if you have brothers and sisters, you want to get rid of them, You want to keep them, keep them. You want to create new ones, create them. It's all fantasy. Want to be an only child? Be an only child. Now, if you want to be a chipmunk, be a chipmunk. I don't care. Do whatever you want to be. Let your imagination run wild. Let it go. Create the place you want to live. Maybe you want to just be one of the characters in Disney. I don't know. But have fun. See, what I love so much about children, children have this tremendous, tremendous imagination. And they're able to literally live within their imagination. But they're trying to teach us something. By being able to go into your imagination and create your fantasy family, what you're actually doing, not even knowing you're doing it, you are identifying your own personal needs. Now, why do we use the term fantasy family? Because I'll tell you. I know codependents, I know adult children. If I told you to sit down and write down your needs, you'd have an intellectual field day. I want you to be able to create them without knowing you're doing it. That's scary. I'll explain it all to you when we talk about the concept of self-parenting. See, it's my responsibility to parent me, not to wait for somebody else to do it. It's a process I've got to go through. And to me, it's the most powerful technique there is. There's a wonderful book out called The 12 Steps to Self-Parenting. I know our ACOA group here uses it. We're just getting we're getting them reprinted again because we kind of ran out of them. But it's a great book to help you to look at this process of self-parenting. And what I've learned in recovery is in self-parenting yourself, you're able to finally identify your needs and learn how to get your needs met from healthy people. So don't make the mistake of expecting people to meet your needs who can't meet them. Why do you think we end up with agita all the time? We keep expecting people to meet our needs who don't even know what we're talking about. Then we get mad at them. Give them a break, will you? We have to learn. See, self-parenting can't take place unless you have a support system to be able to connect this with. That's why we use this process. And at the end of this series, I'll be talking to you about something we're going to be doing in the fall. I'll be running a codependency day. We'll actually set all this stuff up. Then we take you through the process over a period of time, over months. It's all part of the process we take you through to show you how it works. And so it's a way in which we can learn and discover things about ourselves as individuals and as people. And so tonight we talked about education. Take your time, learn as much as you can. Do whatever you can. As much information as possible. Secondly, when you think you're ready, check out and try to go to some support groups and literally, take some time to experience them. As I said, we have them here and other places too. Check them out, see what they're all about. And then basically we'll spend most of our time next week talking about the process of doing self-parenting. The week after that, we're going to talk about, I think the week after that is when we have a guest speaker. But then the week after, 2 weeks after that, we'll talk about affirmations, learning how to affirm ourselves in a positive way. Then we'll spend the rest of August talking about family of origin and inner child work. Take you through the whole process and show you how it works. People have asked me this question. I just want to kind of bring it out. People have asked me, suppose you mix some of the lectures. The book I wrote on the inner child, she has one sitting right there. You can just kind of hold it up. It's a red book on the inner child. The first 10 chapters are the things I'm doing right now with you. So I put them into a book form, and they are available out there if you want to check them out. They are available. So it's part of a process we take people through and try to teach for people. It's kind of a textbook in a way. You come down to it. Hope this helps you understand this process of recovery we're going to be working on.